You pull out your phone, you tap a glossy photo of a cheeseburger, and roughly 30 minutes later, someone is walking up to your front door, handing you that exact cheeseburger in a sealed bag.
Right. It feels totally frictionless.
Yeah, it feels like magic. But the financial engine making that happen is, well, it's practically tearing itself apart.
Oh, totally. It is the great paradox of the modern convenience economy.
Right. So today we're doing a deep dive into the strategy of Uber Eats to answer one massive question, like how can a platform handle millions of orders a day, process billions in revenue, and still, struggle to make a dime?
It's wild because the user interface on your screen is incredibly serene, right?
Yeah, it's super clean.
But beneath that glass, you have a grinding, heavily mechanized, massively complex logistical war.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we are looking at a business model that is constantly balancing on a nice edge, trying to reconcile the infinite scalability of software with the harsh, unyielding realities of the physical world.
Okay, let's unpack this because we have a strategy document today that looks right at the structural breakdown of that exact business model.
Yeah, we're stripping away the branding, the slick marketing, and just looking at the unit economics.
Right, like how the money flows, how the data is leveraged, and what the long-term survival strategy actually is.
Exactly.
To understand the existential challenges a company like this faces, you really have to look at the primary fuel source first. And that fuel is the restaurant commission.
Yeah, that is the foundation of the cash flow.
Mm.
Because the platform operates a three-sided marketplace, right?
Yeah.
You've got the restaurant, the driver, and you, the user.
The hungry user.
Right. And to facilitate that exchange, the document points out that Uber Eats extracts a restaurant commission, generally ranging from 15 to 30% of the total order value.
Now, wait. 30% is the standard tech platform tax. I mean, we see it with the Apple App Store, we see it with Google Play. It's what software platforms charge for access to their users. But, imposing a software scale tax on a restaurant's razor-thin physical margins is incredibly aggressive.
It really is.
Restaurants are famously lucky to clear a 5 to 10% profit margin. It's like a digital landlord charging massive rent just so a restaurant's virtual storefront can be visible on the street. At what point does taking a third of their revenue just break the supplier?
Well, it fundamentally changes the restaurant's operational math. But you have to look at what the restaurant is actually buying for that 30%.
Okay.
They aren't just buying a delivery driver. They are buying visibility and access to this massive pool of hungry users they could never reach on their own.
Right, the marketing aspect.
Exactly. If a local diner tries to hire its own fleet of drivers, manage the dispatch software, and run local marketing to get people to order directly from them, the overhead is astronomical.
Oh, yeah. Totally impossible for a small place.
So the platform essentially acts as an outsourced, digitized front-of-house and delivery fleet.
But if I'm a restaurant owner and I'm losing a third of my top line to the app, I mean, I am constantly looking for the exit.
Oh, for sure.
Or more likely, I'm just jacking up my menu prices on the app to pass that 30% tax down to the consumer, which is why a $10 burrito suddenly costs $14 before we even talk about delivery fees.
Right, yeah.
It creates a very fragile ecosystem if your main suppliers are getting squeezed that hard and your users are getting sticker shock. Is this high commission really the only way the business stays afloat?
Well, what's fascinating here is how the document highlights subscriptions as a way to make the business more stable. Because the volatility of a purely commission-based model is so dangerous for the platform.
How so?
Relying strictly on a la carte, per-order transactions creates immense financial chaos. Think about it. Your revenue on any given Tuesday is entirely dependent on external variables.
Like the weather.
Exactly. Is it raining?
Yeah.
Is there a big sporting event on TV? Are people feeling the pinch of inflation this month?
So you have a highly unpredictable revenue stream layered on top of a highly volatile physical supply chain.
Yes, and the strategy document addresses this exact vulnerability. To counteract that chaos, the strategy relies heavily on a pivot toward subscriptions.
Like Uber One.
Right. The goal is to move the user away from paying delivery fees on every single order and instead lock them into a flat monthly membership.
So commissions provide the raw cash, but subscriptions provide the stability. But let's dig into the why here. Why does waiving delivery fees for a flat $10 a month radically alter the financial reality for Uber Eats?
It's behavioral.
Because on paper, it sounds like they are just giving up delivery fee revenue, right?
Yeah, but it changes the fundamental psychology of the consumer. This goes way beyond just securing a predictable baseline of revenue to appease investors. It triggers a sunk cost fallacy.
Oh, wow.
Once a user pays for a monthly subscription, they actively look for ways to justify that expense to themselves. They feel compelled to order more frequently to ensure they, get their money's worth.
Right. If you are an Uber One subscriber, you aren't going to suddenly open up DoorDash or Deliveroo to order your Friday night pizza.
Never.
Even if the pizza is slightly cheaper on the other app, you've already paid your monthly toll to Uber.
Exactly. You delete the competing apps. The subscription model starves regional rivals of order volume. It turns a sporadic, price-sensitive customer into a captive, recurring revenue stream.
It creates a moat.
Yes. When you have millions of users locked into a behavioral loop where they default to your platform without even checking the competition, you establish a foundational floor of cash flow that anchors the entire business.
So you have this massive 30% commission from the restaurants, and you have this psychological lock-in with subscription securing market share. You would assume those two pillars alone would generate limitless oceans of cash.
You'd think so, yeah.
But the document reveals there is another, less obvious way the company leverages its platform. There is a whole secondary economy operating under the hood here.
There is, and it revolves entirely around the exhaust fumes of all these transactions, the data.
Right. The document explicitly mentions how Uber Eats makes money from data, but it uses a very specific qualifier. It says they monetize data indirectly.
Indirectly, yes.
And that distinction is vital. Because usually when we talk about tech giants and data, the monetization is direct. They package your browsing history and sell it to third-party advertisers.
Right, the traditional social media model.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Indirect monetization is different. It's not about selling a map of your eating habits to data brokers. It's like a grocery store tracking the exact path you walk through the aisles to figure out where to place the most tempting snacks.
That's a great way to put it.
They aren't selling your footsteps. They are using that information to figure out exactly where to place the high-margin items so you trip over them. So if they are monetizing data indirectly, does that mean the eating habits of the users are a secondary product?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, indirect monetization means the data isn't just being sold outright for cash. It's being fed back into the system to optimize the very core of the business model. It makes the platform hyper-efficient.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Well, in the context of food delivery, that internal ecosystem is an incredibly delicate supply chain. Indirect monetization means using the data to reduce the platform's burn rate. Let's look at the mechanics of a single delivery on a busy Friday night.
Okay.
Without data optimization, it is a chaotic mess. You have a driver heading to a restaurant for an order that won't be ready for 20 minutes.
Which means the driver is sitting in a parking lot, not making money, and getting frustrated.
Right. And the platform is losing out on the additional deliveries the driver could be making. Or, conversely, the food is ready, but a driver isn't dispatched for 15 minutes.
Which is the worst case scenario.
Exactly. The food sits under a heat lamp, the quality degrades, the customer receives a cold meal, and they demand a refund. Refunds are absolute poison to the unit economics of this business model.
Because the platform still has to pay the restaurant for making the food, and they still have to pay the driver for making the trip.
Yeah.
But the platform has to eat the entire cost of the refund to appease the user.
Precisely. So how does indirect data monetization solve this? The platform ingests millions of data points every second. They know the historical preparation time for a specific dish at a specific restaurant on a Friday night.
Wow. Down to the dish.
Down to the dish. They combine that with real-time traffic data, the current location and speed of available drivers, and even weather patterns.
So they can orchestrate the movement of drivers with terrifying precision. They know exactly when the kitchen will bag the order, and they time the driver's arrival to the minute.
Right. But they take it a step further through batching.
Batching.
Yeah. If the algorithm knows that two users in the same apartment building tend to order from two restaurants that are on the same street, it can hold a dispatch for 60 seconds in anticipation of a second order coming in.
Oh, man.
When it does, they route one driver to pick up both orders.
Wow. Okay, so they double the revenue on that specific route without doubling the driver payout or the fuel costs.
Exactly. By using the data indirectly, they lubricate the heavy machinery of the physical delivery process. They shave 2 minutes off a wait time here. They eliminate a redundant trip there. They prevent a cold food refund.
It adds up.
It really does. When you scale those micro efficiencies across millions of orders a day, it translates to hundreds of millions of dollars in saved costs. The data doesn't just make the app look smart. It prevents the logistical engine from tearing itself apart.
Okay, I am following this. We have an aggressive commission structure, extracting value from the restaurants. We have the stabilizing anchor of recurring subscriptions walling off the competitors.
Right.
And we have this hyper-efficient optimization engine using data to squeeze every ounce of waste out of the logistics network. By all conventional tech industry logic, this platform should be an unstoppable money-making machine.
The revenue numbers are certainly astronomical.
But here's where we hit a massive plot twist in this strategy document. Because despite all of that, the commissions, the subscriptions, the data profitability remains incredibly elusive.
Yes, it does.
The document states flatly, and I'm going to quote this directly, revenue is only one side of the story for Uber Eats. The bigger challenge is that running a food delivery platform comes with high and constant costs, which makes profitability difficult even at a huge scale.
It is the reality check that separates software companies from logistics companies.
I mean, I was genuinely surprised by this revelation. So what does this all mean? It completely defies the logic of the tech boom we've lived through for the last 20 years.
Oh, completely.
The golden rule of Silicon Valley is that scale solves everything. Usually in tech, once you build the app, adding 1 million users costs almost nothing. The margins expand beautifully as you grow.
But not here.
Right. Here, it sounds like having a stadium full of paying fans where you have to physically build a new road for every single fan to get home. Why doesn't huge scale automatically equal huge profits in food delivery?
This raises an important question about the nature of the physical world, because the physical world simply refuses to scale like software. The app on your phone scales infinitely.
Sure, adding a new user to the interface costs pennies.
Exactly. But this isn't just a software business. This is a massive logistics network masquerading as an app.
Right, because the marginal cost of building that new road for the fan never drops, no matter how many fans you have.
Right. Let's look closely at that phrase in the text. High and constant costs. No matter how incredible the algorithm is, no matter how much data you process, you are bound by the laws of physics.
Right.
Moving a physical meal across a physical city requires real-world resources every single time an order is placed. A human being has to physically travel to the restaurant, wait for the physical food, and navigate physical traffic using a vehicle that requires maintenance, insurance, and fuel to arrive at a physical address.
You cannot copy-paste a delivery driver the way you can copy-paste a line of code.
You cannot. Every single transaction incurs a hard, unyielding physical cost. Let's break down a hypothetical $30 order.
Okay.
The platform takes its 30% commission, which is $9. Out of that $9, they have to pay the driver a base fare. They have to cover background checks and commercial insurance for that trip.
Which isn't cheap.
No, it's not. They have to allocate a portion for customer service overhead in case something goes wrong. They have to cover credit card processing fees.
And suddenly that $9 commission is whittled down to 50 cents of operating profit. Or worse, it's a net loss.
Often a loss, especially when you factor in the cost of acquiring drivers. This is where scale actually works against them.
Wait, how does scale work against them?
Well, in a pure software business, 1 million users clicking a button at the exact same time just requires a few more servers spinning up in a data center. It's cheap.
Right.
But in food delivery, if 1 million people order dinner at 6 p.m. on a Friday, you need hundreds of thousands of human drivers on the road at that exact moment.
Ah. And to convince that many independent contractors to get in their cars during rush hour, you have to financially incentivize them. You have to offer peak pay, surge pricing, or bonuses.
Yes, the cost of the transaction doesn't go down just because you have more volume. The cost actually spikes. To meet the massive scale of demand, you have to artificially inflate driver payouts, which instantly evaporates whatever thin margin you had left on those commissions.
That is brutal.
You are constantly battling driver churn, constantly spending marketing dollars to recruit new drivers just to keep the physical network from collapsing under the weight of its own scale.
That shatters the illusion completely. They aren't sitting on a mountain of passive software income. They are running on a treadmill.
A very fast treadmill.
And because profitability is so elusive due to these constant physical costs, they cannot just rest on their scale. They are locked in a fierce, ongoing battle for survival. Which brings us to the competitive landscape.
Right, the battlefield. The strategy document points directly to regional rivals. The competition in this space is intense, but it is highly fractured.
And that geographic limitation mentioned in the text really stands out to me. The document explicitly notes that they compete with major players in different regions.
Yes.
It's not a winner-take-all global market like search engines or social networks. It's like a giant game of Risk, but played with takeout bags, where winning in one territory doesn't mean you win the whole board.
That's a great analogy.
You might absolutely dominate the delivery market in New York or London, but be completely irrelevant in Tokyo or Berlin because a local competitor got there first. They locked up all the best restaurant exclusivity deals and acquired the driver supply.
Exactly. Hyperlocal density is everything. You cannot be the number 2 or number 3 player in a specific city. The unit economics simply don't allow it.
Why not?
If a regional rival has twice the order volume in a specific neighborhood, their drivers have less downtime, their badging algorithms are twice as efficient, and they can afford to undercut you on delivery fees.
So if every major player is bleeding cash on these same logistical hurdles, if they are all struggling against the same high-cost paradox, how does regional competition dictate their future strategy? Like, how does a company plan for the future when the core mechanics are this punishing?
Strategy in this environment becomes less about technological breakthroughs and more about a brutal war of attrition.
Just trying to survive.
Right. You are trying to outlast the competitor. You want to force them to exhaust their venture capital funding before you exhaust yours.
Just a staring contest with billion-dollar balance sheets.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
If we synthesize the lessons from the business model we've discussed so far, their strategy must involve leveraging what works to outmaneuver those regional competitors. This is where the stability of subscriptions and the indirect monetization of data become weapons.
Okay, I see where this is going.
If your local competitor relies entirely on a la carte orders, and you have a massive base of Uber One subscribers who automatically default to your app, you have built a deeper financial trench. You can weather a macroeconomic downturn better than they can.
Because your core users have already paid their monthly fee, so they are going to keep ordering to avoid the sunk cost, while the competitors' users might just decide to cook at home to save money.
Exactly. And you weaponize your data. You use that indirect monetization to squeeze out efficiencies that your local rival can't match.
Because you have more data.
Right. If your algorithm can route drivers 3% more efficiently, and your predictive models can reduce refund rates by 2%, in a business where margins are measured in pennies, those tiny percentage points are the difference between outlasting the competition and shutting down operations in that city.
Wow.
The winner in any given region is simply the one who can endure those high and constant costs the longest.
It's incredible. We started this deep dive talking about the magic of the app, the illusion of just tapping a piece of glass and summoning food. But looking through the strategy document, the reality is sobering.
Very much so.
This platform that feels incredibly frictionless on your phone is actually fighting a grinding, heavy, high-cost battle in the real world, relying on massive commissions, subscriptions, and data just to inch toward profitability at scale.
It is a constant collision between digital ambition and physical friction.
They are imposing massive tech-scale commissions on physical restaurants, they are engineering psychological lock-in through subscriptions, and they are silently crunching billions of data points in the background to shave seconds off a driver's route.
All of it.
And they're doing all of this not to generate massive windfalls of profit, but just to survive a war of attrition. Next time you order food, I really want you to watch that little car icon moving across the map on your screen.
It's a lot of work for a burrito.
It really is. Just remember the sheer logistical tightrope, the invisible data points, and the fragile business model operating furiously behind the scenes just to get that meal to your door before it gets cold.
It does leave us with one final structural thought for the listener to ponder. The document makes it clear. The foundational challenge of this business model is the high and constant costs tied directly to moving physical items through the physical world using human labor.
The human element.
Right. The human driver is the most expensive, unpredictable variable in the entire equation. If running a food delivery platform fundamentally involves such high costs that profitability is difficult even at a massive scale, will the only way to eventually solve the business model require removing the human element entirely from the delivery process?
Now that is a thought to chew on. The magic button might eventually just summon a machine.